Good morning from Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Last night I drove in, it was a little dark, stayed with my father-in-law, who I am going to ride with today, Bill, AKA Gubby. You might just hear me call him that because that's just what we call him anymore. So the plan for today is to let it warm up. It is brisk today. Does not look like rain, although that's in the forecast for the next couple of days where I'm headed. And we are going to, he's mapped out a 50-mile route. He grew up here in this town, moved away for years and years and years, has come back recently, has been riding, scouted out some good roads. He thinks he's got a nice one planned for us. We're gonna take it nice and chill. We'll see if I can find any interesting things to record, document. For example, this little walking bike path, multi-use path, I don't know what you call this, in the remnants of an orchard on this side, which is pretty cool. I don't know if those things are still alive, followed by a little forest on this side, and then there's an old farmer's field. So just, let's call it a defunct farm where his home is now. Yeah, it should be pretty fun. This is the 30th ride of the month of September. So the last ride in September. Also another big milestone, hitting another one of those 10s. So 10 was a big one, 20 was a big one, 25 was a big one. 30 just has a nice ring to it. So looking forward to the ride. Gonna go and grab some coffee, have some food, figure out what I'm going to wear for today, and get out there on the bike. See you in a bit. West Virginia. Ride number 30. Well done.
Got it.
Jiminy frickin' crickets. Let's start this for take number 2. I thought we were recording and we weren't. So let me start by saying it's a couple of hours later. We've showered, we've changed, we went over, we had some food. We went over to this place called the Bavarian Inn that Gubby has been telling me about for, it must be 20 years now. It always comes up in conversation about one of the great things of Shepherdstown. There aren't many that don't ever come here.
He's right.
And then it turned out to be super good for us because they've built a brew pub onto one side of it. And we sat at the bar at one of the corners. And at the other side of the corner was this couple that were up for the weekend, Hans and Sarah.
From the DC area.
DC area. We wound up having a great lunch, dinner, drinks, chat with them for about a half an hour. Super fun, learned a lot, shared a lot of stories. And then we each had something to eat, and now we're back at Gubby's house doing the post review. So my 2 cents on the ride today was Gubby picked some really great roads, lots of varying topography, nothing overtly difficult, but just a lot of here's a punchy climb, here's a nice descent, here's a punchy climb, here's a cool little swishy road. But my observation, and I'm going to repeat this because we just went through this, it was interesting to me that while you're on a road, most of the places that I've been so far, you're on a farm road, both sides of the road are farm. You're on a city streets road, both sides of the streets are the retail and high density population buildings. You're on a residential road, it's neighborhood here, neighborhood here. These roads, you would have a goat farm, and then across the street would be a subdivision development. Up the street would be the cornfield.
And then an apple orchard.
And then an apple orchard, right? It was just never ending mix match of the fancy horse farm, right? It wasn't distinct by section or region. It just kept being something different every time. So that made up for so many of the roads being exactly the same. These tree canopies, maybe the river on one side. So that was my 2 cents. I really enjoyed the roads, but they were distinctly different than anywhere else I've ridden so far.
Yep.
But you put it together. So what were your thoughts?
Well, I wanted to to start with, give it a 3 out of 5.
Oh, you're just jumping right to the score. You're not even going to qualify.
No, I'm going to jump right to the score, but now I have the opportunity to tell you why. Number one, the weather sucked. If it had been sunny, even if it had been sunny and cold, it really changes the character of the ride because that's hard to explain, but it does change the character of the ride. When I put this ride together, what I looked for was rides that were relatively safe to ride. We stayed off main highways, high traffic areas, so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, and I don't disagree with anything Jay said about the nature of the roads and what you saw along the roads, but that's a 100% accurate depiction of this area now. It's an area that used to be all agriculture and orchards. It was all small mom and pop farms and apple, peaches, and cherry orchards. And it's not that anymore because the influx of people as the edge of Washington and Baltimore has grown closer and closer and closer to Shepherdstown. So that's the way it is. If your objective was to come up with a really scenic ride here in Jefferson County, West Virginia, I'm not sure there's something you could come up with that would generate a really scenic ride. So I'm happy with the way it turned out. We had a good ride. First time I've ridden 50 miles in probably 2 years, and I was happy to do it. So
He's also the guy that 21 years ago got me into cycling, right? So not riding a bike, but what is cycling? What is racing? How do you pedal a bike fast? He's also the guy who pushed me up Ramsey Road in Wilmington, and then I never wanted that to ever happen again. So it was great, 20 years later, get back together, go for a ride. We didn't stop anywhere. We just kept pedaling. It was a nice 3 hours and change. Solid effort.
Yeah, I'm tickled to death that I could ride not only that distance, but at that speed. I mean, that's I never expected to ride it that fast.
So we're checking the box for the 50-50-50 on West Virginia, but if you were recommending an area in West Virginia for anyone to go to really explore West Virginia, is there a spot that comes to mind?
No, not really, and that's because of my limited bicycling experience in the state of West Virginia. Now, if you asked me where are scenic motorcycle rides, I'd say, how many months have you got to go riding a motorcycle in West Virginia? Because there are virtually endless number of exciting, interesting scenic roads to motorcycle in West Virginia. But bicycling, I don't have any recommendations. I wouldn't know where to suggest you to go.
Well, there you go, people. A native West Virginia-tonian? Is that what you guys call yourselves?
Yeah.
West Virginia Kentuckians? That's it.
Yep.
30 down, 20 to go.
Knock on wood.
See ya.